Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Welcome to News Talk with yours truly, Chris Anu, and as usual, coming to you from the great state of Texas, Houston, Texas, to be precise. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Please go ahead, do me the favor, hit the share button. If you are watching by way of Facebook, if you are on YouTube, go ahead, hit the like, and the subscribe button so that every time that the anchor man comes live, you are one of the first to receive notifications to join the show. It's a privilege to be with you again tonight, and of course I come to you with very, very educative, informative and exciting information on Cameroon, on Ambazonia, on Africa, and sometimes on the world too. Please, in a few seconds, I will be right back.
The West lectures the world about democracy, then it bankrolls dictators. It condemns oppression, then it congratulates stolen elections. In this book, The Hypocrisy of the West, veteran journalist Chris Anu exposes the double standards that define modern global politics. From Africa to the Middle East and beyond, Western powers present themselves as champions of freedom, while quietly propping up tyranny in the name of stability and strategic interest. This book pulls back the curtain. Why dictators are rewarded after rigged elections. How human rights become optional when power is at stake. Why some wars provoke outrage and others silence. How selective justice shapes the global order. Written in a bold, direct, and uncompromising voice, The Hypocrisy of the West is not a theory, it is a reckoning. It challenges official narratives, names uncomfortable truths, and forces readers to confront a world governed by convenience, not principle. You should read this book if you have ever questioned why some dictators are sanctioned while others are celebrated. Get your copy of The Hypocrisy of the West today on Amazon. Read it, question everything, then decide where you stand.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is my latest publication, The Hypocrisy of the West. And I actually have a hardcover, the paperback copy with me. We are planning a launching on the February the 28th. February the 28th, there will be a launching for The Hypocrisy of the West. So I will be bringing you more updates about that in the course of time. But once more, thank you for joining me tonight. I come to you with very, very educative, informative, and of course, exciting information tonight. Just imagine, Ambazonia has been fighting for 10 years. It is right to say for a decade. October will make it exactly 10 years since Ambazonia, or since La République du Cameroun launched war, declared war against Ambazonia. And imagine a decade after the declaration of war, a decade after thousands have been slaughtered by the Cameroon army, millions displaced, hundreds of thousands sent into refugee lands, and somebody who wants to be taken seriously wants you to believe we missed it from the beginning. We got it all wrong from the beginning. We didn't get it right from the beginning, and now is the time for him to do it right. And he comes up with this story, he just suddenly realized, discovered that Ambazonia had no treaty of union with La République du Cameroun, ladies and gentlemen. A new discovery. Ambazonia had no treaty of union with La République du Cameroun. And the war, Ambazonian war, has to be about complete decolonization. I don't know for how long you've been watching me or listening to me all these years. I don't know what you have been hearing from me if you have not heard that again and again and again and again. But if you have watched this footage here by one Roland Fru'S, listen to this.
Because that is the foundation of the problem we have been experiencing for 65 years. I didn't come here in a capacity of a politician, an activist, a spokesman for a government in exile. I'm just a researcher, a statesman from Southern Cameroons. And I just want to know that single question changes
Hold on
everything.
there. He is just a researcher and a statesman from the Southern Cameroons. He is just a researcher and a statesman from the Southern Cameroons. Where has this researcher been? Where has this statesman been? Now listen to what he says. Listen to what he says here.
The response from UN archives points to two things: the plebiscite and Resolution 1608. It does not point to a deposited treaty or implementing agreement establishing a union. Clarity. That is not my opinion. That is what the record points to. And when records speak,
all right,
my
that
people,
is what the record points to. He essentially is trying to say that there is no record at the United Nations archives pointing to any article of union between La République du Cameroon and the Southern Cameroons. Now, you see this young man lives Houston, Texas, traveled to New York, walks through the snow and walk through the pictures on the wall. I would expect him to see him talking to an official at the United Nations. I do not see any. I see him pointing at the walls at the United Nations, walking through the snow at the United Nations, and then he admits in his commentary that he wrote to them. He sent email to them. So why did you go to the United Nations for? If you couldn't talk to anybody, you only had to receive everything you got by email. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the point. The point is that for anybody who comes up today and tells you he just discovered, he just realized only now that the UN has nothing in its archives as a treaty of union between La République du Cameroon and the Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia, that person isn't an Ambazonian, because you cannot walk up 10 years after a war that has taken lives and propel something that everybody out there already knows. You have not been an Ambazonian. That means you have not been working for Ambazonia, and that is the main subject of my discussion today. But ladies and gentlemen, do you know, I'm just reading this now, I think Dennis sent this to me, that Cameroon is mentioned 35 times. Cameroon is mentioned 35 times in the Epstein files. Cameroon mentioned 35 times in the Epstein files. We're going to get into that. But in the next second, I will come to you with my monologue. So please stay put as I prepare and bring to you my monologue on the subject of Roland Fru'S' loud sounding gong.
You reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricativ@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricativ@gmail.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this moment I take you into my monologue for tonight, which again has to do with this propaganda out there by the man whose face you find on your screen, Roland Fru'S. Roland has put out a podcast in which he said he visited the United Nations only recently to find out that there is no treaty of union between La République du Cameroon and the Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia. Why? There are moments in the liberation struggle when silence becomes complicity. This is one of them. Not because dissent is unwelcome, far from it, but because confusion, repackaged as revelation, can drain a people's energy, their money, and hope. Roland Fru'S' podcast titled, What They Never Verified, My First Visit to the United Nations and the Way Forward, end of quote, demands a response, and that is why I bring you one. Not to elevate it, but to interrogate it. Roland presents his narrative as a thunderclap discovery that the Southern Cameroons had no articles of union with La République du Cameroon, and that the decolonization process was never concluded. He may be right there. He frames this as something newly unearthed by him, something astonishingly they never verified, referring to the leaders of Ambazonia. From there, he pivots to a promise, a legal campaign driven by lawyers in London, funded to the tune of $700 to $1 million, which within 2 to 5 years, he says, will secure complete decolonization or independence for Ambazonia. Let's begin with a promise. There is nothing new here, ladies and gentlemen. The absence of a ratified Articles of Union and the incomplete decolonization of the Southern Cameroons have been central to Ambazonian advocacy for decades. They are foundational arguments, discussed, documented, litigated, and presented in multiple fora long before the current war, long before YouTube podcasts, and long before fundraising pitches. To sell this as a fresh discovery is not bold, it is revealing of how far removed Roland Fru'S has been from the struggle he now claims to lead. If this is truly a discovery Roland has only now made, the question answers itself. Where has he been? For 10 years a war has raged. People have been displaced, villages burned, lives lost. They claim that only now, after a first visit to the United Nations, one learns the legal basis of the struggle, invites a hard question. What did he think the people of the Southern Cameroons were fighting for all this time? What were they fighting for? Territory without a title? Resistance without cause? Or was the struggle merely a backdrop, something to observe, not understand? Then there is the method or methodology. Even if we indulge in the notion that Roland Fru'S realization is new to him, the response process he proposes is profoundly troubling. In any genuine liberation movement, a new finding, especially one of legal consequence, is brought to the collective. Stakeholders are convened. Strategy is debated. Risks are assessed. Rules are assigned. That is how patrons behave, not as proprietors of truth, but as stewards of a shared cause. But that is not what Roland offers. Instead, we are told of his lawyers, his lobbyists, his plan, his timeline, and your money. No consultation, no coalition, no mandate, just a demand for trust, backed by urgency and a hefty price tag. This is not leadership, it is lone wolfism, dressed as salvation. And history has taught us at great cost that lone wolves burn resources and leave ashes. Roland's rhetoric compounds the problem. He does not merely propose an approach, he indicts others who have given their life to the cause of the Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia, when he was out there writing books on the Cameroon Dream. The books are online. The Cameroon Dream and how to make money quickly. Those are his books. He launches tirades against Ambazonian leaders, accusing them of misprioritization, as though the struggle's complexity can be reduced to a single overlooked legal level. One, he alone now pulls. This posture ignores decades of work at the United Nations and beyond. It ignores the United Nations delegation to Cameroon in the mid-90s with the two maps, an outcome of sustained Southern Cameroon or Ambazonian outreach. It ignores the Southern Cameroon Statesman's delegation led by John Fonche to the United Nations in the same period. It ignores countless meetings, briefs, petitions, and engagements, some of which many of us personally attended during the current war dispensation. To erase this history is not merely inaccurate, it is disrespectful. It suggests that those carrying the water all these years were either incompetent or corrupt, while the truth is more mundane and more honorable. International law is slow, political, and resistant to neat timelines, especially when power and interests are aligned against justice. This is where Roland's fundraising pitch becomes most dangerous and suspicious. When desperation meets certainty, wallets open. When certainty is unfounded, money evaporates. Asking a traumatized people to underwrite $1 million promise without transparency, without governance or collective ownership, urges towards cohesion, even if wrapped in patriotism. Call it what you like. The effect is the same. Funds raised on the strength of exclusivity and inevitability are funds raised on shaky ground. There is also a strategic myopia at play here. Liberation is not secured by United Nations visits alone, nor by returning foreign consul in isolation. Law matters, yes. Diplomacy matters too, yes. But they work when anchored to a living, breathing movement with legitimacy, coordination, and leverage. What moves history is not a docket number. It is pressure, moral, political, and when imposed upon a people, resisted by action. The struggle has always advanced when efforts were synchronized, not siloed. If Roland Fru'S truly seeks to serve, the path is clear. Return to the collective. Consult those who have labored, who have also erred, who have learned and persisted. Share what you believe you have found. Submit it to scrutiny. Build consensus. Create structures. Accept constraints. Abandon the savior narrative. Because the era of lone wolves is over, not because unity is fashionable, but because fragmentation is fatal. Let's be honest about outcomes, ladies and gentlemen. 2 to 5 years is not a plan. It is a gamble. $1 million is not a strategy. It is a temptation. And ignorance, however eloquently packaged, cannot be the foundation of freedom. The people deserve more than hope, sold by installment. They deserve leadership, forged in humility and accountability. What will save the Southern Cameroons Ambazonia is not a promise of a silver bullet in Geneva or in London and New York. It is disciplined unity. It is credible representation. It is sustained action. Sustained action on the ground, in the diaspora, and in every arena where legitimacy is contested. No retreat, no surrender, but also no shortcuts, no silos, no self-appointed custodians of destiny. If you give a dime to a project that refuses collective oversight, you risk wasting it. Not because the cause is wrong, but because the method is. The struggle belongs to a people, not a pitch. And history will not be kind to those who confuse the two. That is my monologue, ladies and gentlemen. Let me bring in my panel for tonight to have a fair discussion on the subject. I am being joined from Africa by Comrade Dennis Atem. It's a pleasure to have you, sir. I think you are muted at your end. We can hear you. We are also being joined from Washington, D.C.
Okay.
All right, yes, we can hear you now.
I think you can hear me now.
I can hear you now. I see you smiling. I hope I wrote a good monologue there.
Thank you very much, Comrade Chris. I'm happy to be here with you and with the Ambazonian public and all those listening in. I think your monologue is wonderful. I couldn't agree better with what you have said. In our struggle like this, people wake up from their sleep and believe that they find something that nobody has ever found.
Absolutely. Hold on there. Let's get to Sisiko Ebini Christmas, also joining from Maryland. Good to see you, sir.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Comrade John. Hope everything is well.
Everything is well, sir. We are also being joined from the Libra land of California by the one and only Dr. Ngwambe. Good to see you, sir.
Yes, Comrade Chris, good afternoon, and good afternoon to Dr. Ebini and my senior comrade, Dennis Atem. My fellow Ambazonians, it's great to be back with you today. This is a show that's going to be very informative because we're going to talk about history and, lay to rest some of these things that are being set out there in social media. So stay glued to this channel.
Absolutely. Hold on there. Let me start with Comrade Sisiko Ebini. Comrade Ebini, tell us, Did you just discover from the expose of this gentleman called Roland Fru'S that the problem of Ambazonia is that there was no treaty of, did you just discover that, only now that Ambazonia did not have a treaty of union with the La République du Cameroon and that decolonization is actually the issue? You just discovered that now? Tell us, please.
Well, when you invited me to this show today, you told me you had also invited Mr. Roland Fru'S, but he said he couldn't
absolutely,
join.
absolutely. Hold on there, comrade. Hold on there. Absolutely, yes. I sent an invitation to Roland to join me on this show on Wednesday. Thursday, he sent a reply and said he can only be on future. I don't know when the future is. He can only be on the future shows. I actually called him. I had a brief, very brief chat with him. So essentially, he refused to come on the show. I think I'm intelligent, smart, and old enough to know when somebody is trying to avoid something. So yes, I gave him the opportunity to come on this show to defend his assertions. But go on, Comrade Ebini.
So I called him and we talked for about 30 minutes. And I tried to convince him to join us on the show so that people can learn more. He said he couldn't. But these are some of the things that some of us have been arguing in this struggle from the very beginning. They misrepresent.
I think we lost Sisiko Ebene. Dennis, if you can come in there, hoping that he reconnects, please. Is it? Did you learn for the? Yes, did you just learn? Did you just realize or learn for the first time that Cameroon did not have a treaty of union with Ambazonia, and that decolonization is what is? The same thing with decolonization.
No, Comrade Chris. When I learned about this, my first instinct was to try to get hold of this gentleman and exchange with him and see what he's doing and see how I could help if there was any way to help. Because I take the Ambazonian struggle to heart as if it were my personal issue. So I first of all got the number wrong. I called a few friends. I finally got he himself. And I called the first time, he was not there. He called me later and we talked, and I asked him a few questions. First of all, I asked him whether he has any legal background. He said no, he's well read. And as we discussed, just a very few minutes because he got offended. And I said, look, my first interest is to prevent you from losing any money by going to hire a law firm, because you say in your podcast that you are engaged on law firms in Britain. And I said, first of all, if you are intending a suit, you must first of all determine whether there's any jurisdiction or competent court that can hear the matter between the parties. You don't need any law firm to tell you this. That was my beginning. When I said this, he got angry and this and that, and then left me. And I said, okay, no problem. Because you see, my brother, I feel bad. I feel bad. What I feel bad about is the level of ignorance of this gentleman. Has he read anything in this revolution? If he was in this revolution, he would have known that this issue of no union treaty was raised as far back as the early 1990s by Martin Chia, who was famously called the UN ambassador. He was the one who raised this issue, and the matter started then. It was as far back as then that this matter was raised and has been on and on. So when he came up and trying to say that, he had discovered this and that, secondly, the UN publishes all treaties under Article 1021 under the UN treaty series. So any treaty would be deposited there and published by the UN. So you don't need to travel to New York to know what it tells us to travel to New York to discover. No, you don't need it at all. Absolutely not. Everybody in the world can consult the UN series and see what documents have been filed, what treaties have been signed between states and filed there, because Article 1021 obliges every treaty signed by a UN member state to be deposited at the UN as soon as possible. So, when we see this, it's something laughable, but it only provokes pity, and because it shows you that we don't even read what our own writers are writing, and we go out there making claims that have no basis whatsoever. So I was disturbed rather than, so I don't want us to talk as if we are criticizing through. No,
No, but
this
that
is
is
just
wrong, Dennis,
information
to
to make
suggest
decisions.
that we should. No, 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 no. I think you are wrong there to suggest that we should not be criticizing Fru. It is 10 years. We are 10 years
No.
into this. And if after 10 years somebody is coming out to say, I want $700 to $1 million so that I can just go and find this new discovery that I find out. Come on. The question is,
Chris.
where has he been for the past 10 years?
No, you're right. You're right. You're right. It just tells you that he has not been reading anybody. He's not even in the revolution. Because
Yes.
if he were in the revolution, he would have known all these things that he is claiming to have discovered only today.
Let's bring in Dr. Ngwambe. I think you want to add something there.
So, Comrade Chris, I mean, I'm sympathetic to what my senior comrade Dennis is asking, that we should not criticize. But the challenge that we face is that the liberation movement as a whole was criticized by this, our brother, as not doing the due diligence of discovering this particular thing that he has just discovered. And it's unfair. His presentation is unfair. He goes and he cherry picks one or two people who are leaders of different organizations and structures in our movement, and their perspective of what we are fighting about, and he holds them up as the gold standard of, oh, these people are saying this, they don't realize that it is incomplete decolonization and there's no union treaty. Those people who are saying those things, they know there's no union treaty there. But even amongst us Ambazonians, there are different schools of thoughts about what the issue is. Is it incomplete decolonization? Some people talk about annexation. Some people talk about successor state. All kinds of things like that. You understand that? So that debate, we in the Ambazonian community, or we in the Southern Cameroons community, because that's another thing that Mr. Fru is also harping now, or trying to stick on now, that there's no Ambazonia inside the United Nations, which we know. I don't think there's anyone on this panel or anyone who is blue, white, and gold-blooded Ambazonian who thinks that the word Ambazonia is inside any UN text. We know all these things. You understand that? But this debate that we've been having, we're aware of many of the things that he did, and anyone who is genuine, if you genuinely believe in the freedom of your people, as you correctly pointed out in your monologue, Comrade Chris, you would actually seek out community. You would not be going around doing this thing as a lone wolf, as some private citizen or some private nation, when people have been on the plow of liberation for over, even since 1961. Mind you,
Right.
People have been on the plow of liberation, but into this contemporary period, there are people who are very active in this liberation struggle in the state where he even lives. Because I believe he says he's from Texas, Comrade Chris.
Yeah, I spoke with him and he said he's from Houston. Let's get back to Sisiko Ebene, who is reconnected. Sisiko, I was asking you whether you have only just discovered today, perhaps from this gentleman, that the Southern Cameroons had no treaty of union with La République du Cameroun.
Well, that I know that in records, there is no such document. We've known that all along as a treaty because of the way Fumban was organized and what was achieved during the Fumban conference. So, and this has not been news to anybody. Anybody who is alert and who has been informing themselves in this revolution would know that that has been the central part of most of the arguments that a lot of people have made. We know that's where Jumba marriage of Mulanjolo Tume came from, and many other people, many other arguments. So that's not something that anyone should come and tell us that they discovered, they made a trip to the United Nations to discover.
Yeah, and the reason I ask you that question, I choose to ask you that question is because I know you were part of the delegation that came to the United Nations in the 90s, led by J.N. Foncha, Fossum, and the rest. And the reason was to get the United Nations to revisit decolonization and consider doing something on the Treaty of the Term of Union. Am I correct?
I had come earlier with Abel Mukong before that delegation. I came in 1992, December 1992 with Abel Mukong, and the delegation came in 1995.
Right. And
so
when you listen to this guy essentially attacking others and saying, now you got the solution, all Ambazonian, Southern Cameroon, in fact, no, he doesn't believe in Ambazonia, he believes in the Southern Cameroon. Not a big deal to me, but he now sends the message that he finally has a solution to Ambazonia, a solution to the Southern Cameroon's conflict. And so what do you think about that?
It's something that is very sad, and to even believe that there may be people amongst us who would fall for that, and his desire to get a British lawyers paid $1 million to give us independence, then we should start really getting some brain surgery if we fall for those type of things. When I saw that, initially I saw it when he was going to the United Nations. I thought it was a nice show to what he was up to. Then up to the end, I just saw it and I said, oh my God, we might be exposed to another my trip to Boya. That's what came to my mind.
Dennis, let me get back to you. You will recall we had this guy in London, I think Mokwele, somebody who came up with this case in London, suing La République, trying to sue La République du Cameroon in the London court, and you came up with the cost. I think it was close to £40,000. And then when we learned that he was doing this, he approached us in the interim government to support. I'm talking about probably about 4 or 5 years ago. He came up with that case. Yeah. It looked nice, and we said, okay, let the interim government come in with you, work with you, support this case financially. And the man said the money must be handed into his hands. And we said, if we will hand the money into your hands and then walk away and have you do everything, we're not going to be part of it. This is the same thing we are seeing here. Am I wrong?
No, exactly the same thing. You know, I was one of the lone people who followed Mokwele right to the end. Even when he had his last case, I was present. It's unfortunate, Comrade Chris. Let me be very clear. Even when we have been working along the lines of having an ICJ case, we know that that is only a stage. It will never give us independence. That is a fact. It's only to put an end to the assumptions that La République is making and that the international community is making to support La République. That is it. It is only a step in the journey to independence. It is not independence that we are seeking by even having a case with La République du Cameroon at the ICJ. Let me make that clear, because some people believe that the ICJ can give you independence. It cannot. It cannot. It cannot. So that should be absolutely clear to anybody. We were using it only as a stage. And I say this as the person who originated the Banjul case. I drafted that case by myself privately. I started contacting people before it came to the public, and other lawyers like Anyangwe and so on joined in. I started that case, adapted it on my own. I went out looking for the leaders. You get the point. So I'm not saying this as an ignorant person. No, I'm not saying this as an ignorant person. So let us be clear about this matter. Let us be clear about this matter. Our brother has made a terrible mistake. The fear is that he will corner those who are ignorant about it to start dishing out money to him that he says he wants to hire a law firm. That law firm will take the money and absolutely nothing will happen. Let it be clear about that. Absolutely nothing will happen if he manages to hire a law firm. I have directed him. If he wants to know about this, let him contact Scapo. Scapo will educate him on this matter, because Scapo is one of those lone organizations in this struggle that has gone very far in this direction. So, I just want to caution about people coming up and claiming to be this or that. It's unfortunate that he couldn't sustain the discussion with me, so that I tried to give him some hints about what he's doing, because he assumes that he knows, because he has he has traveled to New York to find out that there is no Treaty of Union. You don't need to go to New York to know that. You don't at all. At all, if you know how the UN functions. So this is something we are faced with. We just have to manage it and use this channel to educate our public to at least be more vigilant than this, because individuals will come up, whether he has an agenda, I don't know. Whether this is genuinely about the struggle, I don't know. You see, so I cannot really say much what he is doing, but it cannot serve the struggle. It will not move anything forward at all. It will not move anything forward. Thank you.
Dr. Ngwombe, I have argued in my monologue that when we are in movement such as the one we are in, and anybody comes up with a new idea or a new discovery, the way to pursue it is to call the rest of the stakeholders and say, hey, I have this discovery, I have this information, I have this finding. How can we go about it? You put it on the table and you will have a discussion, you have rules, assignments. But in this case, this guy is saying, well, the orders, in fact, the title of his YouTube message, which is, let me see here, the title, which is what they never verified. What they never verified. Now, not you.
Even more annoying.
There is referring to those of us, all of us here and out there who have been at the forefront of this struggle for all these years. The title is What They Never Verified. My first visit to the United Nations and the way forward. And the way forward that he has churned out is to receive these millions and then head out to London, I guess, hire some lawyers to fight for. Is that the way you go about new discoveries in the collective struggle?
Of course not, Comrade Chris. That's not how you go about being a part of a liberation struggle. As you correctly pointed out in your presenting statement, your monologue, we, all of us here on this panel, and Ambazonians at home and in the diaspora, we are stewards of a shared cause, Comrade Chris, as you said in your monologue. We are a collective. What this our brother is doing, it's unfortunate that he's going about the way he's doing it and presenting it. And I'm glad that Senior Comrade Dennis tried to inform him, and let us inform him even more. Comrade Chris, you would bear witness that our brother, our Hungarian brother from another mother, the erstwhile ambassador and former undersecretary for African Affairs, Ambassador Thibault Naj, said that we are not going to be granted independence based on 1608, 1541, and all those types of things. He went on multiple Ambazonia TV platforms, or Southern Cameroons Ambazonia TV platforms, and he repeated that statement several times. That 1608, 1541 is not the key to some magical recognition of our sovereign independence. So when you hear someone who is talking about this thing, that it makes it seem as if he's going to now go and religating those things, it doesn't make sense. As a matter of fact, if you even want to look at it, let's look at what happened to our brothers in Namibia, Southwest Africa. Yes, the ICJ ended up recognizing, SWAPO as having sovereignty rights to implement the independence of Namibia against South Africa after the Germans were defeated. But guess what? Even though the ICJ had awarded that to them, they still had to fight for it. The white supremacist South African government invaded their territory, and because of geopolitics, no one cared. The United States didn't care. The United Nations didn't care to come and intervene. The Namibians had to fight for their independence, even though their sovereignty rights were being recognized and awarded to them at the United Nations. Ambazonia, we're essentially in the same situation. Even if we found a court that said that you Ambazonians, since you all are in unity now, you all are collaborating, you formed a kind of government abroad, and we recognize you have sovereignty rights, you think La Republic is going to respect that? We're still going to have to fight for it.
Yeah, the case of Palestine, the present case of Palestine is a good example. Can you imagine how many countries have recognized Palestine, and yet they are not at the United Nations?
Yep. So sometimes when you listen to some of these things, it's really unfortunate. And as a matter of fact, even this issue about incomplete decolonization process, as much as people like to complain about interim governments and Dr. Sacco and all those types of things like that, inside Dr. Sacco's administration, which you talked about earlier, Comrade Chris, we had one of our brothers working on that, who lived in the New York area, and he visited the United Nations, where we were all aware of this issue, that there's no treaty there, and we were explaining what was supposed to be done. But unfortunately, because of things that are the way they are, it takes time for us to be able to implement some of these things. So this thing that he has gone and he's presenting as if he's found some magic new bullet, Ambazonians are aware of it. It's just that we have to, the things that we prioritize and the things that we don't prioritize. And this is one of those things that we've already been explained is not the way we're going to get our independence. All 1608, 1541, and all these types of things, all they do for Ambazonians is it justifies the borders of our country. So that's not going to be argued. We're not going to be arguing about the borders of our territory. It justifies that we are a unique and distinct people that are not French Cameroonese. That's what these things essentially justify for us. But ultimately, if you want to secure your sovereignty, if you want to achieve your sovereignty, you ultimately have to fight for it, compel your colonizer to get to the negotiation table, and you negotiate it out from there, and then you move forward with your sovereignty and your outright independence as a separate nation from them. That's how it goes.
Yeah, let's get to Sisiku Ebini. Again, I would like your take on this because it is important. In the movement, no one person wants to take the responsibility of carrying out certain processes, this one being a very good example. Can you imagine Chris Anu, coming to you and saying, Sisiku Ebini, I just found out that Cameroon had no treaty of union with the Southern Cameroons. I need your contribution. I'm hiring some lawyers in London or in Swiss or in New York to pursue this case. Can I do that? Can anybody do that?
He is doing that, so somebody is doing it. Listen, like I said, all of us have our different views. I am for Ambazonia, but there are certain things that we use about this Ambazonian argument that they don't make any sense to me. Union treaty or no union treaty means nothing to me personally. I am for Ambazonia because of 1972 and 1984. The United Nations sat in the Federal Republic of Cameroon was sitting as a member of the United Nations from 1961, let's say 1961, 1962 and on. Were they not?
Yeah.
Okay. Inside that sitting, there was a representation of the territory, the trust territory, that was being decolonized through Resolution 1608, was it not?
Yes.
So we stayed, you're going to the United Nations now, and then you say that, oh, there was no union treaty. Why didn't he ask the United Nations, how could you guys sit down and just allow these people suffer that much without any union treaty for 60-something years? Why did you not do something? So the United Nations would be waiting for some British lawyers to come and pressure them to complete the decolonization. And then what happens after that? Do we go back to become Southern Cameroons, a trust territory? Do we go back to become an independent entity with option 3 that was not given us? Or do we go back into the union with guarantees that there's a treaty now? Is that what he's looking for? That's what I don't understand.
Dennis, you want to attempt that question?
And wait, before I come, you should understand and try getting into the mind of this young man.
Yeah.
When this guy started his television programs, I followed him, and he was basically almost at the same level with my country people against Ambazonia.
You are very correct. That is something
then
I forgot to mention.
Then suddenly he turned into forming a Tika Republic, which was taking Bamenda or Northwest away completely from whatever is Southern Cameroons or La Republique. So he cared very much. That's after bashing Ambazonia in the way of my country people. He turned now whatever he was looking for and went back to now become a man who was looking for, as we are looking for Ambazonia, he was looking for the Tika Republic. And then after that, suddenly, he brought in this balance of becoming a voice for Ambazonia. No, well, even if he doesn't pronounce Ambazonia, he's talking Southern Cameroons. So that is not something that we should even, we should be very ashamed of ourselves. If we have people in our midst, who fall for this type of things.
Dr. Bini, that's why for me, that guy is disingenuous, because I was aware of him from that talking point to even to coming to do this divisive rhetoric about northern zone, southern zone nonsense, essentially trying to pit Ambazonians or Southern Cameroons against each other, which would have essentially broken up the struggle for liberation. And now he wants to talk as if he's for an independent Southern Cameroons. Anyone who believes that or who's following behind that nonsense, they have something wrong with their brains. Anyone who's what he's trying to sell.
We are even doing him a great favor, having all this talk about him, really. I'm telling you the truth.
No, that's true. That is true. However, there are certain things, because we have a lot of naive and gullible people out there that must be educated. Because can you imagine somebody putting $1,000 in this guy's hand to go and hire some lawyer? Think about that. So, by the time we were fighting for Ambazonia, Dr. Ngwombe, as you said, this guy wasn't anywhere fighting for the Southern Cameroons. He was writing books. As of November 2024, he wrote a book titled The Cameroon Dream. Go on his Facebook page, you will see that. The Cameroon Dream. Not the Southern Cameroons dream, but the Cameroon Dream. Do you think this is somebody who loves Ambazonia and was writing about a Cameroon dream, while Cameroon was killing, slaughtering, and burning Ambazonians in mass graves? Dennis, sir.
He's muted.
Okay, go on. You're okay now. You're fine. You're fine. Go on now.
Okay, I'm just saying that all of this only point to the fact that he may have his own private agenda in what he's doing, and we're here wasting our time talking about him. Only the fools will fall for this thing that he is doing. People who don't think, who don't reason, who don't read, who don't ask themselves any questions at all. Those are the only people who can fall for his stupidity, and his fraud, if I may use that word, because really this is unbelievable. But he's doing it, so we should talk about it as well. We should talk about it. Let me say that If this gentleman actually believes in anything and wants any document, let him contact me and I will supply him any document and answer any question that he wishes to pose. Yes, because I have tons of documents that I've written on this specific topic that he's talking about and every other detail. So I challenge him now publicly. If he has any question that he would like an answer, let him write to me and I will supply him that answer in writing concerning our struggle.
All right.
Dennis, can I ask you a question, Dennis?
Yes, please.
Is this issue of this, whether there was a union treaty or not, given what we have gone through and how we have lived together, is it that relevant?
It is.
Yes, it is. Now, you see, as long as you are not before a competent court, anybody will say anything. Listen to La République du Cameroon and what they say. They say anything. Some of them even claim that we're part of their territory and so on and so forth. So
yeah, that is where the doctrine of reunification comes in, right? Where La République talks about reunification, where there was no reunification.
Exactly. I have written on this so-called reunification clearly, so that even if you are, no matter how foolish you are, once you read it, you understand that there was nothing called reunification. So the purpose of cases like this is to put an end to those cacophonies and those lies that each side tries to tell itself. You see, this is so that step takes us beyond that. Because nobody now will be able to be making those statements just because there's no court that has clarified the matter. This is one of the reasons why we need a court case because it helps us go beyond that to facing just the reality of them leaving our territory. As long as that has not come, it will happen. Because you see, the Americans, have you heard any Western country raise any pertinent point that we have raised? No, none of them have ever raised. None of them have ever asked the question. So, where is the document joining these two parties who are fighting? Have you ever heard any Western country ask that question? Have you ever heard any country talk about the date of independence? No. So because they are taking advantage of the fact that there's no ruling.
I part with that argument. I don't really buy much of that argument. Those are things for the text for classrooms.
Sisiko, what do you buy? What arguments do you buy?
Yeah, those are. Listen, here's the thing. We were a trust territory, right?
Yes.
And we sought independence, which was granted us. Right?
Yes.
We may not like the condition under which we were granted independence. We had our political representative, our leaders, who met with whatever condition. And the UN, Articles 8 and 1608, gave certain terms and proposals. It doesn't mean that that when they said 11 February we're going to vote, they did not tell us what we should wear to go and vote. They did not tell us what the color of the ballots should be. If we come and we stay in a reunion with our leaders, serving the government, serving the administration for 60 years, and we rise up to say that the reason why we are seeking independence is because the colonization was not complete, it doesn't make sense. We are here because whatever we had as an agreement to be together was violated, which is 1972.
No. Hold on there, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on there. Sisiko, you are arguing like a federalist who says, we came into union with La République du Cameroon in the federal system and you violated the federal system. Then you are not speaking as an independentist. We're not fighting to go back to a federation that was dissolved in 1972. We are fighting to correct the wrongs done in 1961.
At all. Comrade Craig, let us be very clear. There was no federation at all. What you call a federation was a domestic law of La République passed in its
there was a federation
1 month before the trusteeship was terminated. So people should not confuse this issue. This is why we are.
There was a federation.
Once you go to court and that matter is decided, people will not come back and say there was a federation. There was no federation because You cannot be talking about two legal entities and then you deny the legal facts. The legal fact is that there was no federation at all.
Well,
So,
I don't know. That is subject to debate.
There was a federation.
Go on.
There was a federation. There was a federation. The challenge is that the Francophones.
No, these are de facto things that you see. Those are
there was a federation. Things. We had a prime minister. We had a prime minister.
There was a
those are de facto things.
We had a West Cameroon government. There was a federation.
Make the point, please.
See, there was a federation, right? But the unfortunate thing is that Ahidjo and the Francophone side did not intend to abide by the rules of that federation. And I just want to include this.
What was the treaty creating the federation?
Dennis, hold on.
What was the treaty creating the federation?
I encourage our brother.
Tell me, what was the treaty creating the federation?
Page 42 and 43. Carson Anyangwe writes that Mr. J.O. Field, who was the commissioner for Southern Cameroons, he wrote to the United Nations and stated the following in a cablegram. Foncha, United Nations Delegation, United Nations, New York. Proposed plebiscite question announced today on radio most unacceptable to elected ministers and majority people. Southern Cameroons stop, urge that delegates return here for brief consultations and alternative that I join them in New York. Stop. Convey strength of local feelings that debate should be adjourned. Stop. And he ends that we cannot be responsible for political and security consequences if second question, that is unification, is imposed in the territory. So all this is just going to say that the UN and people who were supposed to be representing Ambazonia or Southern Cameroons in those days knew that this was going to come to the forefront where we would be fighting over the situation. Even the fact that whether there was a union treaty or there was not a union treaty or not, let's go and look at what's going on between Ireland and Britain. They were considered a united kingdom for how long? But they ended up fighting and going their own separate ways. India and what we know as Bangladesh, they were one country, right? Two separate parliaments. They didn't even have any joining territory together, and there was some kind of union arrangement between them, but they still fought and got their independence. So whether there's a union treaty or not, it means absolutely nothing. All human beings, all nations, all rights of people have the right of self-determination, and that is enshrined inside the UN Charter itself. We want our self-determination, which was abrogated and was all this mischief happened to us, and now we're just trying to correct that mischief that happened to us back in the 1959 and the 1960 plebiscite nonsense that was done. That's all that is there. So whether there's a union treaty or not, it really means nothing. We just need to do what we need to do to get to the negotiation table and negotiate our way out of this mess. Simple. Union treaty or not.
Dennis, you were about saying something before Dr. Ngwambe. Go on, please. I think Dennis is frozen. Sisiko, I think you were trying to argue that there was a federation.
Yeah, there was a federation. Let us look, here's the thing. All these problems we are having is because we are not together. Forget about whatever the United Nations, whatever they did up to 1961. We came, let's take even the imperfection of the union of the federation that we had in 1961. If it was respected up to now, certain things would have not been happening.
No, you are correct.
But they violated the terms, the simple terms. It was not a perfect agreement, but there were some guidelines in that federation that would have not allowed Biya and Ahidjo to have the type of power that they ended up having. So they violated that.
But what, Sisiko, if you argue
we cannot go back. We cannot go back and be arguing the period when we were a trust territory. We left that.
No. Then we have no claims for independence or fighting for independence if we cannot go back and litigate what happened in 1961. Because the thing is, look at Zanzibar and Tanzania. Look at the Gambia and Senegal. They all had concrete agreements on the basis of their union. The Gambia later pulled out. Tanzania and Zanzibar, they are still together, but working as two autonomous states. What do we have to show for the Southern Cameroons and the Republic of Cameroon That is the point. Do we have any articles, any agreement that bind us together from the officiating organization, the UN? Do we have one? No. Why should others have and we have nothing to show for?
So we are fighting to have what?
We are fighting to reclaim our independence. If the United Nations say in 1961 you participated in the plebiscite to assert your autonomy, your independence, the question is, where then is the independence? Because we have nothing to show for it, and if we have nothing to show for it, we are asserting it and asking for it in return. That's what we are fighting for.
Well, I would say, if I was in the UN, I would say, you claimed the independence, you enjoyed it, and then when things went sour, you came back again to say that you did not enjoy it. You had the independence.
Wait, so what did you, when you traveled to the United Nations?
We had a West Cameroon. West Cameroon was an independent state within the Federal Republic of Cameroon.
Within the Federal Republic?
Was it
Since
not?
when? Since when? So let me ask you, when you travel with all these statements...
Since October 1961. October 1961.
All right, I agree with you. But when you travel to the United Nations, you were making all these tours around, going to the United Nations. What were you asking for, Sisiko?
I think, do you know how the SDF came about?
I do.
Okay. Okay, can you share with me a little bit? Let's see what
that would be diverting.
Our knowledge is at the same level.
Explain to us.
Not too much. I just want to tell you about how the United Nations function.
When you travel to the United Nations with Albert Mukong, John Woodfuncher, Youngbang, and what were you looking for? If you claim we had independence,
we did not come looking for Southern Cameroon's independence when I came.
What were you looking for?
We were coming to put pressure for Cameroon to return to federalism.
Well, so you were, okay, I agree.
That's where we were in the 90s. That's where we were. We were not talking about independence in the 90s.
Let me agree with you. 1993, 1994, the AAC 1 and 2, Boya Bamenda, and I remember
return to the federation.
And you were in all these meetings, and I remember in Bamenda, the resolution coming out was, you do not return to federation, we are taking back our country. Why? Because we have no article of association or union with you. Was that wrong then?
You mean at the time what I was wrong?
Yes. In 1993, 94.
Well, it was people worked on. That's what it was. The decision of the people who attended the conference. And one thing you should know too is that 1994 was not as effectively attended like 1993.
Well, but it doesn't matter. People, whether it was effectively attended or not, people came up with a resolution and you were part of it. You were in there. You agreed that if they don't return to federation, let's go back to our country, to independence.
No. What's our argument about? I am saying that if
the argument is about
the United Nations did everything that you are saying, even if the United Nations did everything that you are saying now, and Cameroon violated the agreements that we have for a federation, would we not still be seeking that independence?
If the United Nations presented us with an article of union, then they have the powers to enforce it to the effect that Cameroon doesn't dictate anything upon the people of the Southern Cameroons.
So you are saying that we don't have any claim until there's that union treaty?
Claim over what?
Ultimately, you can fight for your independence. Yeah, what I was going to say is you can fight for your independence at any point that you want to, because our brothers in South Sudan, they ended up in the exact same situation. The British were supposed to help them negotiate a treaty with the northern government in Khartoum for them to be in a federation. The British bailed on them, just like the British bailed on us. And South Sudan ended up in the situation that they were in. I'm not going to act like I'm discovering something for anyone here and out, but if those of you who have read about the history of South Sudan, you will know that John Garang was fighting for federation. That's what he was fighting for. He was fighting for a federation. Sure. But unfortunately for the North Sudanese were too dumb to accept something that was fair. That federation was fair. And unfortunately, they went and they killed too many our South Sudanese brothers, and our South Sudanese brothers ended up getting help. Mind you, the first time they fought, they didn't have help. The second time they fought, they ended up having help from the international community. And then they got to the negotiation table, and mind you, they had factions just like us. So factions is not something that's strange, and so I'm not telling anyone anything new. They had factions just like us. The factions ended up reuniting. They got the North Sudanese government to the table, and they had the negotiation. And part of the negotiation was that you're going to have a peace agreement which includes a federation between North Sudan and South Sudan for 6 years. After that 6 years, South Sudan exclusively, meaning only people from South Sudan living in South Sudan are going, and people who are citizens of South Sudan who may be living abroad are going to vote for a referendum that decides whether the South Sudanese should remain in a federation with North Sudan or they should become an independent state. I don't wish death on anybody, but fortunately, John Garang and his federationist ways, he mysteriously died. Helicopter crash. And the pro-independentists in South Sudan campaigned on independence, and that won the day. Because at the end of the day, the North Sudanese continued to mistreat the South Sudanese. So the South Sudanese voted for the independence. So it doesn't matter whether, like, that's why I keep saying this thing about having a unity treaty and all that kind of stuff. Like, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't even, I mean, even our Eritrean brothers, look at our Eritrean brothers. Our Eritrean brothers were essentially annexed, because that's another argument that Ambazonia say, that we were annexed by La Republic of Cameroon. Eritrea was annexed by Haile Selassie, Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia. At some point, they went to war over that, right? After they kicked out Italy and all that stuff, the Allies kicked out Italy, helped Ethiopia kicked out Italy, and then they covered their eyes and let Haile Selassie annex Eritrea, just like they covered their eyes and let Ahidjo annex us, you know, and they went to war. And they had the strategic agreement with the Tigrayans, and they defeated the dictatorship, had a referendum, they also had a referendum, and they went about their ways. So Maliland, the exact same situation. These are people who gained independence, even more clear independence than us, and then they accepted to join their Somali Mogadishu brothers with their union treaty, let's say it like that. And then they went in and they thought it was Balok, just like we've seen it's Balok. And they fought, and they've been governing themselves for 30 years. They got the United Arab Emirates to build them a seaport. Israel is recognizing them. Ethiopia is wanting to recognize them. Donald Trump is calling Somalia Mogadishu, saying that it's not even a country, which means he's probably going to recognize Somaliland shortly. So all this is to say that irrespective of whatever is going on, human beings, people who are considered a unique, distinct set of people, who have a common history, like we Ambazonians, have a common history, a common ancestry, a common heritage, a common strife. I'm from the Northern Zone. I have a common strife and a common history and a common heritage with my brothers from the Southern Zone in forging a country together. And we have the right, as enshrined in the United Nations articles, to pursue self-determination. Unfortunately, La Republic
doesn't want to. And we don't need to depend on the United Nations to get that right.
We don't.
Well, you may be right somehow, but we have to understand the way things work. You don't rise up and give yourself a name and call yourself a country and hope that you are recognized by the United Nations, because at the end of the day, you have to be recognized by that United Nations to belong in the concert of nations. So you cannot ignore that.
The United Nations cannot unilaterally recognize you. I will agree on that, because I've read some books on international relations. I get that aspect of it. But to pursue your self-determination and to compel the country that you are having a disagreement about self-determination on, there has to be an arrangement made, which is why I keep talking about negotiations. And then that information gets tabled with the United Nations, and then the United Nations accepts you. I'm not going to dispute that.
All right, let's talk about something else. I'm just getting this information that Cameroon is mentioned 35 times. Cameroon is mentioned 35 times in the Epstein files. The names, no name yet. I have not seen any name yet. But I read in one of the emails that Epstein mentioned that he was traveling to Cameroon to do some hunting in Cameroon. What kind of hunting? we don't know what kind of hunting it was, but he visited Cameroon. So the question becomes, who was he possibly hanging out with in Cameroon, and in turn, who was visiting his island from Cameroon? Can you guys guess?
Comrade Chris, you are a big. Before the revolution, you were a big man, and that guy only hangs out with big people. Are you sure your name is not there?
I'm still waiting for my section of the files to be put out, I guess. Dr. Mwambe, did you visit the island, or you were a doctor in the you studied?
Hell no. I mean, even though some of that money would have been good, but no. But I mean, but truthfully speaking, though, Comrade Chris, I mean, I saw that thing go across, and you know how it is in Ambazonia and even La Republic of Cameroon social media space, and in the way the world exists now. There's a lot of fake news out there, a lot of fake news. And that particular thing that was sent out, that's fake news, unfortunately. Because when I saw you talking about it in the beginning of your monologue, I quickly Googled it because I'd seen it roaming around in our social media space. And I was like, man, I hope people aren't going to fall for this. And if you, the AI, like Google AI, they will tell you, as of February 2026, Cameroon is not a primary subject of the recently released Jeffrey Epstein files, though the country's name appears in broader discussions regarding the document's impact on Africa. So the name Cameroon or the word Cameroon, whether it's spelled with the UN or two O's, it doesn't appear there. So Jeffrey Epstein did not talk about traveling to Cameroon. He never talked about hunting. Nothing like that is there. So I don't know where that came from. I know Ambazonians or the people out there who are very creative, who are trying to make sure that, maybe Cameroon stays in the news and all those types of things. So they create those things and attach it to it so that Cameroon is trending also. Maybe those are the people who did that. But the truth of the matter is that that's fake news. I'm sorry. It's fake.
How do you know it's fake news? You can't say
it's
that.
Fake. Because I Googled it. I Googled it, and Google Gemini, Google Gemini, the AI that aggregates and it goes through all the different articles that are out there, all the news articles that are out there, and it says Cameroon is not mentioned in any Epstein files. It talks about Africa in general, but there's no mention of Cameroon specifically in the Epstein files.
Well, we will find out if that is the fact or not. Gentlemen, please stay.
Were we in WikiLeaks?
I'm sorry?
Were we in WikiLeaks?
I believe we were.
Yes, I think, we were. Well, Cameroon was in WikiLeaks. I don't remember exactly what it mentioned about Cameroon, but I can recall Cameroon was mentioned there.
Comrade Chris, the ambassador, it was like cables from the United States ambassador at the time were part of that dump. And I think that's where some of this talk about discussions about the successionship in Cameroon came from, and all those types of things from that WikiLeaks.
If I may ask you before we take a brief break and open the phone lines, Sisiko Ebene, what do you think of 11 February? Since this struggle began, we have banned the celebration of February 11 festivities in Ambazonia, and we are still making it very clear today that this year's 11 February has no place for celebration in Ambazonia. Do you have any disagreement with that?
Well, I don't think we should be celebrating 11 February the way the Cameroon La République government started out. I think that was the beginning process of trying to erase our identity. They made it a youth day. We don't know anything significant that the Cameroonian youth did on 11 February. And the only thing that we know historic to us Southern Cameroonians for 11 February was when our people went to the polls to vote on the plebiscite. So maybe in the thinking of La République, they didn't want to celebrate that, to know to make us really be cautious of our history, and they turn it into a youth day. So I don't see any reason. When we were young, we used to enjoy it ignorantly without knowing, going for sports and all that thing on the 11th February, but there was no mention about the plebiscite. So I think if we can give it the right context to celebrate, then nothing wrong. But for what it is now, it is a political day for La République, which has no bearing on us.
Dr. Ngwembe?
Well, I wouldn't celebrate. I don't think we should celebrate 11th February because it's the day that the United Nations, in complicity with Britain, they did not give Ambazonians a choice because Ambazonians wanted outright independence. Fonachembi, the second of Bafut, as president of the House of Chiefs and Fonds, when they had their meeting, they all agreed that if they ran away from Endele because Endele was trying to take them to Nigeria, and he said that we would also run away from Foncha if Foncha was going to take us to La République du Cameroun. Our brother, one-time PM Augustin Joie, wrote to the UN telling them that they need to postpone this plebiscite or postpone any of these decisions because Ambazonians or Southern Cameroons do not want to join La République du Cameroun. Foncha tried his best too, as much as we may have our disagreements with him about it. But Foncha also, when he went to the UN before the plebiscite, they tried to get them to understand that the plebiscite questions as presented were unfair. They were not correct. But the UN and the British, they didn't care. They didn't care. So in celebrating this day, it's like as if we're celebrating the fact that these Europeans, which is what they've been doing, these Western Europeans, and some of these international bodies, which is what they've been doing in Africa for a long time, they've been imprisoning us in situations that don't benefit us. So it makes absolutely no sense for us to go and be celebrating a day when they imprisoned us with La République du Cameroun, when we were supposed to be given the option, which we would have chosen, to be a sovereign, independent nation on our own. So no, we should not be celebrating 11th February.
Let's do a brief retrospect here with the benefit of the hindsight. Sisiko, do you think we would have been better being in Nigeria if we had chosen to join Nigeria in 1961? Is that a very hard question?
I'm trying to think, because when you say Nigeria, I think of our brothers that we left behind and what they are doing across the,
yeah.
The Gongola state, the Adamawa province in Nigeria is where what they are exporting out is more of the terrorism of, what do they call them again, the Muslim group?
Well, I'm talking in terms of development infrastructure, and do not forget that you are talking about northern Cameroons. Then we are talking about the southern Cameroons here.
I think we would have been much better than what we got from La République du Cameroun. That's what we are getting. I think we would have, with some challenges, we would have been much better. I think we would have organized ourselves much better than we are with La République.
Comrade Chris, you best know, Comrade Chris, in Nigeria, every state in Nigeria has a private university and a government university. Is that what pertains in this failed relationship with Cameroon? How many universities do we have in the different divisions or counties of Ambazonia? Or even in La République du Cameroon themselves? They don't have that.
And we fought and bled. Before getting Boya University.
Yeah. No, I think both of you are right, because if you look at Calabar, look at Akwa Ibom, look at which one again, Port Harcourt. I mean, with proximity to Ambazonia, look at their development in terms of infrastructure. You can't compare them to us. We have nothing to show for joining Cameroon 1961.
Comrade Chris, the other thing you need to take into consideration is that look at the fact that the oil exploration that Nigeria has. Imagine if we would have remained in them and then they would have discovered that oil in Dian and then started exploring that oil in Dian. Nigeria would be a super rich African country. And the development, they may be having some issues with how they're sharing that oil well, but that would have trickled down somewhere as compared to what's going on in La République du Cameroon. Because mind you, Nigeria is a federal republic. They're federal states. They're not a unitary state with the nonsense that's going on in La Republique du Cameroon, where you don't even see any benefit from the financial resources that the country generates together.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Please stay put in there. I will be right back. When I come back, I will open the phone lines. So please stay put, stay put. I will be right back.
The West lectures the world about democracy, then it bankrolls dictators. It condemns oppression, then it congratulates stolen elections. In this book, The Hypocrisy of the West, veteran journalist Chris Enu exposes the double standards that define modern global politics. From Africa to the Middle East and beyond, Western powers present themselves as champions of freedom, while quietly propping up tyranny in the name of stability and strategic interest. This book pulls back the curtain. Why dictators are rewarded after rigged elections. How human rights become optional when power is at stake. Why some wars provoke outrage and others silence. How selective justice shapes the global order. Written in a bold, direct, and uncompromising voice, The Hypocrisy of the West is not a theory, it is a reckoning. It challenges official narratives, names uncomfortable truths, and forces readers to confront a world governed by convenience, not principle. You should read this book if you have ever questioned why some dictators are sanctioned while others are celebrated. Get your copy of The Hypocrisy of the West today on Amazon. Read it, question everything, then decide where you stand.
Hey, Comrade Chris, we're not hearing you. Comrade Chris, there's no sound, no sound. Comrade Chris, turn on your mic.
Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we are opening the phone lines. If you want to call in and contribute, the moment is now. Let's join Samuel Thomas here from Belgium. Hello, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, Comrade Chris, and let me say hi to your fellow panelists at the studio with you. I'm reacting on the points that Comrade Ebini has been raising about if there was any federation between the people of Southern Cameroons and Large Cameroon. I'm coming in to say that there was never a federation between the people of the Southern Cameroons and Large Cameroon. Reason being that the prescription given by the United Nations to form a federation between the people of the Southern Cameroons and La Republic of Cameroon was that after the plebiscite of February 11, 1961, there was to be a post-plebiscite conference to be organized by the United Nations, attended by the government of the United Kingdoms, the government of the Southern Cameroons, the government of La Republic of Cameroon, that will come up with a new constitution for the two nations that will now in turn be tabled at the United Nations for a trusteeship agreement between the two countries.
And that never happened.
That conference never took place. So there has never been a federation between the people of Southern Cameroons and La Republic of Cameroon. And the name given by the United Nations for that country, which was formed by that conference, was a United Federal Republic of Cameroon and not the Federal Republic of Cameroon. So there has never been a federation between the people of Southern Cameroons and La Republic du Cameroon. Thank you.
Thank you. Well stated. Sisiko Ibini, you have any response to that input?
Well, that's talk. We can talk. We know we talk whatever we want to say, but I know that There was a West Cameroon government and there was an East Cameroon government, so there was a federation.
Yeah, that was for a few.
It might be imperfect, but there was a federation.
1961, we had an independent Southern Cameroons as of 1961. What you are referring to?
And then Southern Cameroons turned into West Cameroon, and there was a West Cameroon government. There was a West Cameroon government.
Before 1961, there was already a West Cameroon government, started 1954 to 1959.
West Cameroon government?
Yeah. 1954.
Before 1961?
Yes. 1954. No, listen to me. 1954 to 1959, Ndele was the premier of the state of West Cameroon.
Southern Cameroons, not West Cameroon. Southern Cameroons. Southern Cameroons, not West Cameroon.
Self-ruling.
West Cameroon came about because of the union with La République.
I'm not calling it West Cameroon. I'm calling it the Southern Cameroons.
You called it West Cameroon. That's why I'm correcting you. Yes, we were a trust territory that was given some autonomy to govern itself.
Yes.
We were not an independent country.
Well, you can call it that way, but any country
no,
that
we
had
were
a
not.
prime
We
minister,
were a trust territory under
cabinet,
the British.
Any country that had a parliament was self-governing. They're just waiting for a piece of paper from the United Nations, which we did not have. All right, the phone line is open, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and call if you want to make a contribution. The phone line is right there on your screen. Go ahead and call. Dr. Ngwembe, you have any contribution there?
Well, the only thing I was saying, I understand where there's difficulty in deciding on whether there's the federation or not, because it may be in some people's mind they may be saying that if we accept that there's a federation, that means that there was a union something. Let me say it like that, right? So people, you want to delay. So we can say maybe there was an incomplete federation because technically the Southern Cameroon side never took back the constitution that was La République du Cameroon's constitution. They never took that constitution and took it into our own parliament and debated it and ratified it. We never did that. So it was a kind of incomplete federation, a kind of Jumba marriage, which we all know all these terms. So that may be what is causing this hang up in some people saying that there wasn't a federation, though there was a kind of document, that La République du Cameroon created. Maybe that's where the hesitation is coming from.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. In the absence of any calls, we're going to call it night here. Dr. Ngwembe Sisiko Ebene, thank you very much for your time, sirs.
So where's my copy of the book, Ben?
Your copy of the book, you will get it soon. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be doing a launching here on the, let's get to this caller first. Hello, sir. This is Metro Lissinger, right?
Yeah, I've been following you guys keenly.
Okay.
My greetings to everyone there.
Thank you.
So I would just like to point some of the things you have been talking about. I'm sure it's Mr. Kente talked about there was no federation because there was not a treaty. I should make it clear that a federation is a form of a state. You don't need to have a treaty to have a form of a state. Sometimes we are mistaking
right.
the identity of Southern Cameroon. You can always change the form of a state any day, any time, but you don't change your identity. Scotland and England, they have been changing their form of a state. They had different parliament. They came and formed entity like British Southern Cameroon and La République. And every time you can always go. So that's the first point. Then Mr. Ebene said that in 1990, we were not talking about independence. We were talking about it, and I was campaigning. I went to Ngembo, I met Muna, I went to Foncha, Pandangam. We were doing all those things. We were campaigning for independence. Yes, we were doing those things. So I was part with, when they wanted to go, the Muna, the Foncha, they wanted to go to the UN. We made sure we were the ones signing those signatures for them to go to the UN. Then again, the next point, that's a doctor there, I cannot recall his name, but the third person on the panel,
yeah, Dr.
Ngwembe. Dr. Ndeli wanted us to join Nigeria, I will tell you, Dr. Ndeli never ever. I grew up with Dr. Ndeli as a boy. What he did, he said, I'm not happy with Nigeria. And he left Nigeria and came and gave us autonomy in Boya in 1954. Then these people, they came with their stuff that two alternatives. They never had a choice. That was not self-determination. They gave us two choices, which was not self-determination. So that two choices now, you have to choose La Republique or Nigeria. That was not Dr. Ndeli's choice, but he had no choice.
You are very correct. You are very correct.
Yeah, so that is the way I look at it. He never wanted. That's why he removed.
Because hold on there, comrade. Because it was Ndeli who initiated us leaving Nigeria in the first place in 1953, right?
Yeah.
Point well taken.
Yeah, so that's important. Sometimes we make mistake. He never wanted it. And another point, if you ask as things stand, I would have preferred La Republique or Nigeria if we had no choice. Yeah. I would have preferred Nigeria. Or if you look at Northern Cameroons, the development, the Maiduguri, their road and everything or whatsoever, they use the English legal system. No gendarme, elected governor.
Right.
Northwest and Southwest would have been better off. We have no airport, no road, nothing. I would have said yes if there was no choice to be in Nigeria. If we had no choice of independence, we would have been better off there. We would have had at least an airport. That deep sea port they would have constructed. So we have nothing. We are worse off in La Republique du Cameroon. Then again, is it Comrade Sama just came and talked about that? It was about drafting new constitution. I will make it again. Constitution is about a form of a state. Our identity is different from a form of a state. We should always distinguish those states. We can decide to do with La Republique. We can say West Cameroon, East Cameroon. Let's change our constitution today. We change it. We become one entity. In 10 years' time, we say we don't want it again. We change. The point is that they have annexed us. We are not existing. La Republique is existing. Where is British Southern Cameroon? Where is Southern Cameroon? So we should distinguish our identity with the form of a state. Form of a state means nothing to me. Today, if BR signs a presidential degree that we are Southern Cameroon, we are still centralized. They have made sure we have our identity. Then we can start talking about form of state or independence. So we should distinguish those political things. Then lastly, what was that? Comrade Bini talk about not an independent country or what?
Yeah, right.
Okay, yes, he was talking about you saying that you said we were not independent country. A country doesn't need to be independent. We were a country under Dr. Ndeli. We had a political authority, a population, and a territory. That's what is important. Scotland is a country. They are not independent. They have their own money. They have their own football team. They have their own thing. The point is we have been annexed. We want our identity back. That's what we want.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thanks for that contribution and very well articulated. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Right. All right. Any of you have anything to add, to subtract from what the caller has said?
Matt, nice. It's good hearing from you again. I think what I was saying, I did not say that they were not talking about independence in the 90s. You talked about me coming here to the United Nations with Abel Mukong in the 90s. When we came, we were not talking about independence. When we met in Boya in 1993, we were not talking about independence. When people went to Bamenda in 1994 for the second All Anglophone Conference, they were not talking about independence. But they came up with a resolution, the Bamenda Proclamation, which stated if the restoration of the federal structure was not complied by 1 year's time, we would declare independence. So it's from 1995 that the clamor for independence started. So before that, in the 90s, when we went to Boya, the historic AAC one, it was not about independence.
No, I agree. 1993 it wasn't about independence. It was about the return to the federal system. However, 1994 put lots of emphasis on returning to an independent Southern Cameroons, failing Cameroon's return to the federal structure. But Dr. Ngwembe?
I want to appreciate Barrister, or was it Maitre and Barrister, the same term. Lissinger, for that clarification, because he is right. It is very clear from the historical record that Southern Cameroonians, or Southern Cameroons, Ambazonians, as we prefer to call ourselves now, we didn't want to be part of La République du Cameroun. We did not want to be part of Nigeria, but the mischief that is the world did what it did. We keep pointing out, and Comrade Chris, you know this well, Ambassador Tibona just said that justice, interest trumps justice when it comes to the international community. So all this talk about 1608 and 1541 is, that may be the justice portion of it, but there's international interests out there that are playing in this thing, and we just need to fight our fight, make our friends, be united with each other, speak with one voice to the best of our ability, and we're going to eventually get our independence recognized. That's what is there. That's what other people have done. We're not the first people that this mischief has happened to. The British did this to South Sudan. The British did this to Pakistan and Bangladesh, and Pakistan and Bangladesh do not even connect with each other. But the British thought that those two people could be a nation, mind you, and they ended up having to fight. So that's just the way, unfortunately, the world is not fair. Comrade Chris, your book talks about the world is not fair. It's you have to be able to get your fairness, and fairness, unfortunately, comes from the barrel of the gun, because you have to be able to enforce what justice you want to be able to have. You have to be able to enforce your freedom. And unfortunately, the way the world is, it comes from the barrel of a gun. It comes from your military capabilities. It comes from the friendships and the relationships that you are able to make with different countries who have similar aspirations for their people like you do. And that's what we Ambazonians, we're trying to work on that now. We're doing our best to work on it that now. And we're eventually going to get there because other people have gotten there. I yield.
All right. Dr. Ngwembe Sisiko Ebene, thank you very much for coming on the show and having us to have this discussion. Talking about the book, you will all have your copies at the launch.
Don't send me a copy. You can send me a copy because I already bought a copy.
Oh, interesting.
So if you send me a copy, you can send me an extra copy, which is, I will replace it with the autograph one from you, but I already bought my copy.
All right. Definitely we'll do that. Text me your address.
I will.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. God bless you all, and I look forward to coming back here on Monday. Unfortunately, for those of you on Ground Zero, we don't have ABS running at the moment. We hope to bring it back up and running as soon as we can. That's all that I can say. Thank you for tuning in, and good night.
The West lectures the world about democracy, then it bankrolls dictators. It condemns oppression, then it congratulates stolen elections. In this book, The Hypocrisy of the West, veteran journalist Chris Anu exposes the double standards that define modern global politics. From Africa to the Middle East and beyond, Western powers present themselves as champions of freedom, while quietly propping up tyranny in the name of stability and strategic interest. This book pulls back the curtain. Why dictators are rewarded after rigged elections. How human rights become optional when power is at stake. Why some wars provoke outrage and others silence. How selective justice shapes the global order. Written in a bold, direct, and uncompromising voice, The Hypocrisy of the West is not a theory, it is a reckoning. It challenges official narratives, names uncomfortable truths, and forces readers to confront a world governed by convenience, not principle. You should read this book if you have ever questioned why some dictators are sanctioned while others are celebrated. Get your copy of The Hypocrisy of the West today on Amazon. Read it, question everything, then decide where you stand.